Hi guys, so today we're going to work on some multi-step equations with fractions, but before we get to that, let's go ahead and work on some warm-ups. So the warm-up is two fractions equal to one another versus two fractions multiplied by one another, right? So those are two different problems, and how you do them is different because of the sign between them. So when you have two fractions equal to each other, they're equivalent fractions, meaning this one has the same, is worth the same as this one when you actually divide the two out. But what you can do in order to solve for x is cross multiply. You can multiply 7 times x to get 7x, 14 times 4 to get 56. Then you can simply divide both sides by 7 to get x is equal to 8, right? Over here, though, because we're multiplying fractions, you're going to go straight across. Multiply 3x times 5 to get 15x over 15 times 7 gives you 105. You can reduce this. You can divide both the numerator by 15 and the denominator by 15 to get x over 7. Or what you could have done also is you could have reduced, cross-reduce before you multiply straight across. And I think this is what confuses people about cross-multiplication versus cross-reduction. So you can cross-reduce in this case 3. However, you can't cross-multiply. And then now you have 3x over 3 times 1 over 7. Well, now 3x times 1 gives me a 3x over 3 times 7 gives me a 21. Both the numerator and denominator can be divided by 3, so you're left with x over 7. So you're left with the same answer, just a couple of different ways to do it. So over here, we multiplied straight across, then reduced, and over here, we reduced, then multiplied. Let's look at the first example on this foldable. It should be under common denominators. So now we have multi-step equations with common denominators. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 fractions with 9 as the denominator. When you have common denominator for all of them, what you can do is you can take that denominator and multiply both sides of the equal sign by it. So what we're doing here is we're multiplying 9 times 8x over 9, right? Or 9 over 1. Multiply straight across. 9 times 8 is 72x. 1 times 9 is 9. So that's my first fraction, 72x over 9, minus 1 over 9 is 9 over 9, is equal to 9 times 23. Let me do that. 23 times 9 is 207 over 9, minus 4 times 9 is 36x over 9. Now, if we look at this one right over here, this fraction in particular, it's easy to see that we can take 9 divided by 9 and turn that into a 1, right? That turns into a 1. Over here, 9 goes into 72 8 times, so we can actually turn that into an 8x is equal to 207 divided by 9 will give you 23, minus 9 divided by 36 is 4x. Don't forget your variables over here. So we have 8x minus 1 is equal to 23 minus 4x. Well, if we go back up here, we also have 8x minus 1, 23 minus 4x, right? So multiplying by that common denominator that you have just gets rid of the denominator. So we got rid of all the fractions. So that's our whole point. because we don't like working with fractions, right? So now go ahead and solve this. Follow your multi-step equations. You're going to move that variable over to one side first, so you end up with 12x minus 1 is equal to 23. Add 1 to both sides. You're left with 12x is equal to 24. Divide each side by 12, and you have x is equal to 2. Next problem. So now we have 3, 5, and 15. Well, just like when you multiply or add and subtract fractions, you have to get common denominators. You can use the same method to get common denominators over here. Between 3, 5, and 15, 15 is our lowest common denominator. So I can multiply 3 by 5 and the x by 5 to get 5x over 15. Minus multiply the 5 by 3 and the 2 by 3, because whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. Gets you 6x over 15 is equal to negative 7 over 15. Now that we have common denominators, go ahead and multiply each side of the equation by that common denominator to end up with 5x minus 6x is equal to negative 7. So we can combine like terms at this point because we have the 5x and the negative 6x. When we combine the two together, we end up with negative 1x is equal to negative 7. Divide each side by negative 1. X is equal to a positive 7. Next problem, split your equation. Now we have a whole number. So instead, we're going to make it into a fraction. Now we can take that fraction and get a common denominator. Well, in order to make the 1 a 5, we have to multiply it by a 5. So what we do to the bottom, we must do to the top. 2x over 5 plus 5 over 5 is equal to 13 over 5. Now you're multiplying by 5 on each side. Those 5s cancel out. We're left with 2x plus 5 is equal to 13. Now we can go ahead and remove our term without the variable first. We're left with 2x is equal to 8. Divide each side by 2. X is equal to 4, right? Next problem. Same exact concept. Turn your whole number into a fraction, then multiply the denominator by your whatever number that you need to. So between 10, 5, and 1, 10 is the lowest common denominator. We can multiply 5 and 1 by a number to get 10. So whatever number you use, so 5 times 2 gets me a 10. I'm going to do that to the numerator also. So 2 times this whole term, x plus 3. 2 times x plus 3 minus 3x over 10 is equal to 70 over 10. Now we can multiply each side by 10 to cross out those 10s. We're left with 2 times x plus 3 minus 3x is equal to 70. Distribute the 2x, or sorry, 2 to the x to get 2x. Distribute it to the 3 to get a 6 minus 3x is equal to 70. Now we have two like terms on the left side of the equal sign, this one and this one, so we're going to combine them together. Same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. So subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So negative 1x plus 6 is equal to 70. Subtract 6 from both sides. That gets eliminated. We're left with 1x is equal to 64. Well, now you can simply just divide by that -1 to get a -64 as your final answer. Go ahead and do numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8 on your own and the maze. Good luck.